Can you hear me, folks?
I can't hear anything.
Can you hear me, Doug?
Yes.
Seemed to have a fair bit of lag.
Let's see, I got too many computers going here. There we go. Okay.
All right. Got about 2 minutes. Welcome, guys.
Hi, Doug.
How's it going, Doug?
Can you hear me
Happy New
okay?
Year to everybody.
Happy New Year. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, you're coming in just great to me.
Good.
Yep.
We are streaming real time this time on YouTube. I wanted to test this out and see how it might work for our Messier marathon.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's streaming live. Let me check the audio here. Yes. It's working great. Okay, so we got about 2 minutes left. What are the skies like in Europe, Phil?
Awful. Absolutely wall-to-wall cloud. Well, I'm talking about England. You know, we're the buffer that protects Roll and the main continent.
Why am I
So
not hearing?
maybe a bit more luck
That's because
once we get on the main part of the continent.
Yeah.
Awful here.
here.
Here in sunny Spain, it's partly cloudy. It's causing me a few problems here, but might be able to do something.
Yeah.
I have to grab them again here. Hello, hello.
I've got a few things I can show people though, Doug, later.
Rats. Can't get my earbuds back. Well, I might have to just.
Decided to try a new different filter tonight, and of course it's giving me problems with flats and things. So
There we go.
that happens, doesn't it?
Touch on these.
Don't experiment on live stream is the moral.
All right. Let's start, guys. It's 3 o'clock. I'll give the official log on. Hello and welcome to another Cloudy Nights EAA gathering. And we're so happy you're here. We do this every month, and we originally started this way back in March of 2021 when a group of us got together to do the Messier Marathon together. And during that really bonding experience that we all enjoyed, we said, hey, why don't we do this every month? So here we are rotating through the continents of Europe and then the West Coast of USA, North America, Canada, and then the East Coast of North America, and then Australia. We alternate. So within every 4 months, every continent or region gets its turn. And today it's Europe's turn. So Phil, give us the weather report. What are things like in Europe?
Well, I can only talk about the United Kingdom, and it's wall-to-wall cloud, as it has been for months.
Phil.
But
We've been looking forward to this for months now.
I know it's. To be honest, I've hardly had a session since March. It's been that bad. The Gulf Stream is so far north that it's. I mean, at the moment we're sucking in hot air from the Azores,
Oh,
and
wow.
it is just. It's Bermuda Shorts weather outside.
Oh, wow. Well, let's check over in Spain, Portugal. Mike, what's it like for you?
We're in a transition period. We've had a few days of beautifully clear skies. And apparently that's due to a high pressure moving up from North Africa, pushing all the clouds that you're experiencing there in the UK over towards you. But apparently that high pressure is weakening now, and I'm seeing the effect now. The front is just starting to come in. We're getting some clouds. In general, this year it seems to be the problem. I'm not a meteorologist, but the jet stream just hovering, right over the eastern Mediterranean where I am here, and bringing with it a lot of high winds, a lot of bad weather.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
What about you, Rol, over there in Belgium? How's it like for you, Rol? Be sure and unmute, Rol.
Okay, good evening, gentlemen. A pity here, also cloudy from over the UK, I think, and starting at 23 hours. Normally it will be clear, so in about 2 hours.
Oh, let's hope so. How about Evold? How about for you, Evold, over there in Munich?
So hello, Doug. Here's Ewald from Munich. Thank you. You hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I wanted to show you something from Munich, but we had the last 2 nights were clear, but this night cloudy.
Oh no.
So it's not a good turn for Europe. This is tonight, I think.
Wow, I'm so sorry to hear that, Evold. I know you were looking forward to it as well. Let's see, the rest of us are in North America, right? So we've got daylight all the way out there to Mike, clear out there. It's still noon. Mike, you'll be eating lunch any minute, won't you?
I just finished brunch, a nice Sunday brunch, and it's beautifully clear. We had a last couple days of storm move through, and so we're on the backside of the storm where it's clear, dry, northern air, and it's the middle of the day. So what are you going to do?
So sorry to hear that. Say, remind me, you're up in the Great Pacific Northwest, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm in Seattle. I have not seen a clear night since Halloween. So it's been really itchy. I was really hoping to see something tonight, but it sounds like Europe is just as bad as here. Yeah, I mean, most day, I rarely see even the sun in the last 2 months. So it's been horrible weather for us. It's been really, really itchy trying to be able to see something.
It looks like Ken became so frustrated. He has gone out to his vehicle and he's trying to drive somewhere to find a clear patch of sky, I think.
No, actually, we're on our way home from a New Year's trip up in the Upper Peninsula where it was 18 degrees.
We're not going to complain, are we, guys? Take back our complaining about our 37 degrees Fahrenheit. Brian, down in Tennessee, do you have your solar scope set up with clear skies, Brian?
Yeah, I'll give you a graphic visual for what it is here.
Oh my goodness, that is so ugly.
It's snow flurries.
Oh no.
Yeah, but
so
tomorrow night looks awesome.
Oh, now somebody has stars. Who is this?
This is Mike. I
Mike,
just shared yeah, that's, I'm using my 224, not on the telescope, but just to see outside. I'm inside in the basement at the moment.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it looks like that's the big gun, the Dobson there pointing up, imaging at the moment. But yeah, sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
No, we're glad you did, because all of us are happy just to see that they are all still up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you going to try to image through the Dob as well?
I'm sorry?
Are you going to try to image through the Dob as well?
Yeah, I've got it connected. Actually, I'm imaging at the moment.
Okay.
Wrestling with a few technical issues with the rotators.
We can't identify with you. None of us ever have any technical issues.
Yeah, really. What technical issues? Really?
None of us.
Yeah. Why don't I? Yeah, I'll show you what I can show. I'm on the other computer. Let me see. Right, let me clear that. And give me a second. Well, have we finished introducing everyone?
No, I'm trying to think now. Greg Hill, remind me where you're from, Greg.
Hi, guys. Thanks for the opportunity to visit with you. I'm out in central Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma, home of Astronomics and owner of Cloudy Nights. So it's kind of nice to just being a couple of miles away from the store. Run over there, just pick things up.
Well, that's good or bad.
You
Get
should
you in trouble,
probably,
right?
you should probably
Yeah.
you should see all those messages a lot more quickly than all of us do. So we're kind of
Just have to give Mike the direct access to my account.
Yeah, right. We've got beautiful clear skies today, just cleared up yesterday after snow and a low of, I think it was 14 degrees this morning.
oh boy, that's
So it should be
icicle.
really, really nice tonight. I'm looking forward to getting out the first time in about a week or so.
All right. James, what about you? I don't know if you have a mic on you or not, but
Hi there.
trying to
Can you
remember
hear
where
me?
you're located, James.
I'm in England.
Oh, good.
Not a long way from Phil, I don't think. I exchanged some emails with Phil a few weeks ago, and he suggested that I take a look at this meeting. So it's my first time along.
Oh, we're happy to have you.
Oh, welcome, James. Mersey Island, isn't it?
Sorry?
Mersey Island.
No, well, in the North Hampshire, actually. So
Oh, no,
between,
tell a lie. Sorry.
Yeah.
Forgive me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're North Hampshire, yes.
yeah,
So
just
I met
south of
somebody from
Reading.
Mersey Island as well the other day.
Yeah. Yeah, but I agree with Phil with the clouds. I went outside a little earlier, and tantalizingly, there was a bit of clear sky, and then the clouds just rush in.
What about you, Tiago? We see that you've logged on. How are things over in Portugal?
Hello there. Oh, this hour, I just came to say hello because this hour is too bad for me. I'm going to dinner now.
Oh, no.
You usually do this later, a bit later,
We were
but
trying-
here on South, we hit about 8, 9 o'clock. On North, they eat earlier.
We were trying
But
to be
I just
kind
say
to
hello.
you. Yeah, we were trying to be kind to you, so you didn't have to stay up as late. Do you have clear skies, Tiago?
No, not really. This kind of thin clouds and mist, you know,
Yes.
that kind of like England has like that mist
Yes.
over the forest, and this has been bad for the weather here. Has been bad these days. Only 2 or 3 days more or less, but it's awful here now. I don't know.
Tiago, before you go, could you just tell the group what you've been working on recently? I know that you've done several live streams. Each of us will have 5 or so minutes to share what we've been working on. What's going on in your world, Tiago?
Yeah, I was trying to put this on my like this. I can't hear myself. Yeah, thank you for asking me that, Doug. Yeah, I do some live streams and videos about the Dobsonian telescope, as you know better than anyone, in my channel on YouTube. And you are invited to go there to speak about to spread the cloudy nights gathering also. I have some audience that could give you value also being here and participating in Europe and other places also, of course, not only Europe. But yeah, I do the same as you, but in different, in a totally different topic. And that's why I value you a lot, because I understand what you suffer to do to make the things work and what's behind the scenes. And it's like that. We love to do that.
It seems like you've become a specialist on helping us grasp how to do EAA with a Dobsonian, right?
Yeah, and especially for beginners.
Yes.
I'm focusing on Dobsonians and for beginners. Those guys and girls that want to reach what we do, but and have the Dobsonian, but are lost in the way, and I just want to make that connection, and then they fly and do better than me. I just saw some guys that do much better things that I do, but much better, far away. But I like to make that connection, to give them that click to go, and then with a Dobsonian, of course. With other telescopes, it's easier.
Before you go to dinner, Tiago, would you mind putting up for us a picture that you've captured recently of the Comet Leonard?
Oh, yeah. Doug, I only go to dinner when my wife call me.
Oh,
I don't know when. I'm waiting. I'm just telling for you not to think, because I like to be here.
Okay.
Yeah, the Comet plan. Actually, I took 2 days ago also another picture, and yesterday I tried, but it was not possible. Wait a moment, that I'm looking for the last one.
And you can share your screen there.
I'm opening the picture. Wait a moment. Yes, I will share the screen. It was very hard. Not the first time at 5 o'clock in the morning, it was okay. But this last one, God, it was very, very, very hard to catch it. I will try not to share the screen. Hold on, because I'm not used to Zoom. I wanted to listen with my headphones, but I don't know how to do that in Zoom. I'm not used to Zoom.
While you're sharing the screen, while you're sharing the screen, on the lower left, there's a thing called audio. If you hover your mouse down there, you can go to audio settings, and there's a screen in there when you can use a drop down and you can pick whatever you want to monitor, whichever source you want to monitor. But that you can do that later. For right now, you're sounding good and we can hear you well. So do you know how to share screen? It should be on the lower center.
Yeah. I know. Screen 2. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. So there.
Yeah.
You're watching.
Yes, beautiful.
This was the last live stack. It was about 4 or 5 degrees in the horizon. This is not processed. And before that, I made another one, which is here, and it's also not processed. It's EAA. And then this was horrible to catch. Almost, I had the telescope in horizontal and at 5 degrees altitude, and also I had loads of thin clouds only at the horizon. Was terrible. Let me show you just the difference, because I do some. I know this is not but it's fun to see the difference. I just do some tweaks on the brightness and not the colors, only the brightness and contrast, like that. I just do like some clicks and to enhance. It's almost, it's not EAA of course, but it's almost like alpha minute after doing the EAA. Just for you to see, I imagine this is a long tail here, but my Dobsonian can't do nothing about it, because it's a Dobsonian. No.
Now, Tiago, if I remember right, because I think I watched a couple of these episodes, these are not live stacked. They're just, that's one capture, one exposure, right?
Yes, this was a live stack. I can tell you, this one here is a live stack of.
I see now. 17 frames.
It's here, yes, 17 frames, 68 seconds. So it was 8 seconds, I think. Yeah, no, 4 second, a 4 second exposure.
Exposure, so a little over a minute. And is it our imagination, Tiago, or can we sort of see some of the trees and vegetation there?
Maybe, maybe because I have an house, trees, and also an electric cable from the company. It's too low. It's really, it was the hardest thing I ever did, or the extreme condition I ever did with a so small open window. Yes. I had only like some minutes to do this, and yes. I messed all my live stream. I wanted to make a live stream doing the same, and I messed it up because I couldn't. I get nervous and I couldn't find the comet. And then the day after, I did this, and the day before of the stream, Yeah, and the day before of the stream, also I caught the comet. I have here, no, but it was a similar image. It was my it's here on 29. The difference is not so pronounced, but it's more beautiful also. This
You
is
know,
not
Tiago,
processed.
we have a viewer that's logged onto the live stream from Australia, so he's watching you live now, and we should greet Kim, and Happy New Year to you as well, Kim. Thanks for tuning in. What I love, Tiago, is that you've captured the green of the coma, and then you also have in the tail, you can see how it goes to yellow, orange, amber. It's beautiful.
I think that I can't be 100% sure about this, but I think this orangish is because we had this was during the day almost, and the sun was right at the right. This was about southeast, I think, and the sun was here on west here. This was southwest, and this the sun was west. And I think the sky is like a bit of orange too. I think that is the influence of the sunlight.
You notice how there's a spine that goes up the tail that's brighter, isn't there? Almost like a fireball spine. Yes.
Yeah. I saw some pictures. That's why I think this about the orange. I saw some pictures. Wide field of view pictures with cannons and things like that in other countries like India and Australia, I think. In this last days, the tail was so big,
Yes.
and we can see all the tail, but not so orange. Less orange, greenish, things like that. I don't know if they process it, because here I don't process, but many people that spread the images on the internet, they are processed, and I don't know if they touch the color. I like that's why I like EAA like you.
Yes.
I like to catch the moment like it is. The object exactly like it is. No?
I imagine, Tiago, if you had been doing processing, the moderators at Cloudy Nights would have found a way to reach inside our broadcast today, and they would have somehow blocked your image. So it's good that you didn't process.
You know, we have a thin layer between astrophotography and EAA.
Yes.
But you know, imagine one day I'm not so I'm disciplined about that from the beginning, but I'm not so obsessed about that now.
Good.
Because imagine that in a month or more, I don't know, that Robin from SharpCap or other guy like him from a software that figures a way to SharpCap to while live stacking, and it puts more enhancements available. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. And then we will still say that is EAA, of course. I understand the essence, and the essence is here. We catch these objects to watch them, not to enhance and make them beautiful in a picture. To watch them and to live that moment. And that's what we do, no? What you do and everybody in EAA. So this moment I will never forget. These pictures of the comet Leonard with all the messing I did and everything, I will never forget. And this was what I really was watching at that precise moment. Also, we can argue that the moment the light arrives and we don't know, it's not very precise, and like you said in the other video I saw from you, that you said I think it was a cluster of stars that possibly it's that apparent I don't know the term you use, apparent distance, no?
Yes.
Because you cannot be sure, and it's true, and this is all past also. No,
Yes.
Nothing is real time. I'm not seeing you in real time, and you're not seeing me in real time. But it is. It was the moment. At the end, we call it real time because it's the moment that matters, and the joy and the feelings we have from that moment. And then when I tweak, it's after the moment.
Yes.
It's true. No.
Tiago, thank you for sharing this with us, brother.
Okay, thank you.
It looks like that John Kautko and also Frank have joined us. John, you want to say hello? You're logged on, and you might have to take off your mute, but thanks for joining us.
Yeah, hi. I'm here in California. I ordered a solar filter, did not show up.
Oh.
It's going to arrive today, like 2 days late, because I really wanted this to go out there. I figured it's broad daylight right now, so
Yeah.
I figured that might be a fun thing to do, is throw that up and see if we can find some sunspots.
Next time.
Yeah.
Well, it's still unlucky because I ordered the sun and I got a solar filter.
So John, can you tell us a little bit more about what kind of filter you ordered?
Oh,
what
just
kind of scope?
I've got the CEM 40 mount and a Celestron, the Maxutov 7-inch Maxutov, which is a 2700 millimeter f15. I've been using that for to try and find planets, although it also makes it really hard to plate solve, I found out, because the scope has such a high f-stop. And I also have the RASA 8, which is sitting in a box over here in the corner. I have not taken that out yet because I was trying to get the Mach 7 working so I can do all I can with that first, especially when Jupiter and Saturn and Venus were kind of in a row. At least out here, we're at, I think, latitude 38 roughly. But just haven't had the time to do it. And then this meeting came up. It was, middle of the day, so I figured, hey, I'll grab a filter. The one I got, I just got a solar filter sheet. I looked online, and like Celestron had one that I think would fit on the 8-inch scopes, clip in place with the little twist lock. But people ultimately said just buy the solar filter sheet. It's like $20, for an 8-inch or 10-inch square, and then fashion your own cardboard frame on it, and duct tape it to the front of the scope, or however you want to fit it on. Because ultimately, you just need to hold it in front of the scope to filter out all the light.
John, if you have a RASA in a box, if you're letting a RASA sit in a box, I'm going to call your psychotherapist.
I know. I've got the ZWO autofocuser already mounted on it, so it's basically all ready to go. But I've just haven't had enough time. So I've been playing with the I call it the Mach 7, the Maxutov scope, which was kind of fun. But again, what I found out here, roughly Bortle 6, is plate solving is not easy when you can't find stars. So I've got my little ASI Air Pro hooked up to it. I actually have the antenna mod for that, so it has an external antenna, gets better reception. I just haven't played with it enough. Sorry. So
I forget, John, what town you're in California. Is it Redwood City?
Yeah, I'm in Redwood City in the middle of the San Francisco peninsula, like halfway between Stanford University and San Francisco.
Wow, all those smart people live there.
That, by the way, is a Celestron solar filter, unused. I've had it about 6 months, not seen the sun.
Oh no, Phil. There's some kind of a funeral dirge we can sing at this moment. That's so
I know,
sad.
it's just been hopeless. It's been terrible.
Yeah, so that's my situation right now, but I thought I would hop on at least and see what you guys are able to see there.
We're glad you're with us, John. And we also see that Frank has logged on. And Frank, I know you've been working on everything from guiding to I don't know what. Go ahead. You're from
hi guys. Yeah, I just jumped in late. I was I had to finalize our Disney plans. We're going to Disney at the end of the month, and so I had a video chat, so it kind of conflicted with this get together. But I'm done with that. And yes, Doug, you're right. I am trying to figure out what to do in terms of wanting. I have this desire to want to guide my 8-inch SCT. I've heard a lot of, I've read just about every article about guiding an SCT on cloudy nights, the pros and cons of guiding versus going with an off-axis guider, whether or not it's even worth guiding when you're using a hyperstar. Obviously, the OAG is out of the question. When you go with the hyperstar, it would just block everything. And so what kind of guide scope and guide camera, if at all, should be used when using the hyperstar? I don't know if I'm going down a rabbit hole that I even shouldn't go down. And I see Phil is.
I think you are.
Yes, I am. So.
Well, I tell you, I don't know if we asked the group here to give you any of their opinions about guiding on a 20-second or a 30-second EAA f2 scope. What do you guys think?
Yep, Mike's shaking his head no. Don't bother.
Not worth the headache.
Not worth the headache.
I'm doing 60-second.
Sidetracked on the guiding and how accurate it is, and you lose focus on the EAA part, and when you don't really need to do it. This is what I discovered. I played with it, and then I took it all off and just went straight back to just the scope and the camera.
Yeah.
I've gone back to absolute bare bones, complete bare bones. And with Hyperstar, 6 to 8 second exposures typically. Anything longer than that, I just find I'm wasting my time.
But now, Frank, you raised a good point. There are some objects, like you mentioned that dolphin head, that does require a little more time.
Yeah, and I don't think the Dolphin Head Nebula is necessarily really could be considered an EAA target when you need 3 to 5 minute exposures, even at that high F. Even at F2, I've seen some images taken of the Dolphin Head that are now probably not even in the realm of EAA. You're into AP at that point.
Anyone else have an opinion?
I am, with my Evolution mount and my 6-inch newt, I'm doing 60-second exposures on Alt-Az with no guiding. And the stars may come out tiny bit ovaled here and there, but I'm finding you don't need it for 60 seconds or less as far as I'm concerned. But I am on a wedge. I can't forget that. But still, it's 20 or 30 seconds shouldn't be a problem.
But Frank's right, that dolphin head is a difficult target, isn't it?
I don't see any way of trying to get an image of it unless you're extending the exposure times well beyond a minute.
We're all going to go back to that target now, Frank. We're all going to go try it now, I think. All right.
Is the dolphin head different from the fish head?
Yes, it is.
I just, if it's bigger, a dolphin than a fish. If you want to, I'm actually imaging something at the moment, actually.
Please share your screen.
Yeah, if you want to, let me see. Where's the share screen? Hang on.
A dolphin head is SH2-308.
Well, okay, so here we are live. This is the fish head, NGC. I've got 896, yeah, NGC 896. 19 frames at 4 seconds, 400 gain, using a 14-inch Dobson. And you can see the mouth of the fish there, slowly forming. There's this little line that goes through it, but yeah, imaged that a few times. Quite a nice little object.
Mike, what do you just for a base? Or you have a commercial built equatorial tracker?
No, this is I'll show you a picture of it on the. Let me just zoom. Where were we? It's a 14-inch Dobson mount, basically. I can got it on the other computer here. Where's it gone?
I've been inspired by Tiago's efforts, and I'm doing a lot of research on. I've got a 12-inch Dob, and I'm just what to put it on, or try to build something, or really want to do.
Here we go. Let me stop sharing here and share here.
Brian, did you build the the stuff, the motors.
I'm sorry.
If you built the motors, Brian.
That's what I'm trying. I'm just doing right now, doing a lot of reading, Tiago, on what to do, motors and designs, and whether it's worth the effort, or should I just spend the money and get a commercial made platform, you know?
Okay.
Okay, so you're just so you got a tracking knob, okay. Yeah. I'm using an Explorer Scientific 12-inch truss, and so I'm going to fabricate some kind of platform to put it on, so I can at least do, you know, 15, 20, 30-second exposures with it.
Mike,
kind of similar to what Tiago does.
While you're there, Mike, could you, in case people haven't seen your videos, could you say a word about how you're using plate solving in a sharp cap sequence to be able to improve the quality of your tracking?
Mike, you're on mute.
It's actually quieter this way though when he's on mute. I'm just kidding. Mike, you have to take your mute off, brother. I can hit this little button, ask him to unmute. I'll do that. Ask to unmute. Oh.
Got it. Now I have to mute this other one.
Yes.
Hang on.
You're back.
That's why.
You're going into the twilight zone, the twilight zone, the twilight zone, the twilight zone.
Okay.
So what we know now is that Mike is actually logged onto the conference twice.
That's why, yeah, because I had the, let me leave this, stop and leave this meeting. Okay.
Nice having you here, Mike.
So here we are. Okay, sorry about that. So what Doug was talking about was, so I've got to go to Dobson, and so that obviously allows me to plate solve. I can't track with it, and the longest exposures I can reliably do without getting elongated stars reliably is 4 seconds. Okay. So like this one, we're at 4 minutes here, and normally 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes is enough. But on some things I've wanted to do longer, want to do an hour. And the problem is though, even this go-to DOB, you know, it's computerized, got tracking in it. The tracking is not that reliable. So the problem is the image will drift out of picture, out of frame after a while. So what I've done is, I think you can see my screen here, yeah? Is I just did a very basic sequence program. I mean, just, now I can't see the, whereby I'm, let me go to sequence edit. Here it is. So it's a basic sequencing program in which I plate solve to center the image, live stack for 15 frames, plate solve again, and then after those 15 frames, get it to save the current live stack in all formats. So I get it, you know, every few minutes, I get an image just in case I lose everything.
That's a good way to do it.
And I have this set to go on for about 2 hours. I mean, the longest I've done is about an hour on M33, and that actually came out quite well. And then in addition, let's close that down. So that sort of automates the whole process, really. So in addition, what I did was I splashed out on a rotator. Let me stop and share screen on this one. Go back to the Zoom screen, share screen. Here it is. And this is the control panel for the rotator. and this is quite a nice little device. It's the Pegasus Falcon derotator. So what this does when it's working is to compensate for field rotation. And so here, and it'll actually give you the rate of rotation here. So looking at the Fish Nebula, the rate of rotation is 27 arc seconds per second. And it'll actually show you either in degrees or in the tilt of the sensor how much it's rotated around to compensate for it. So then coupling the sequencing program together with the derotator, I can see quite long total integrations using this job. It doesn't increase the sub-exposure time, but it increases the amount of time I can capture a complete field of view.
Very nice.
You know, quite nice.
I told Mike that this was like inventing something, and he clarified, well, I really took, you know, available pieces and used them in a different way. But I love the fact that he figured out a way to use these tools in a way they probably weren't designed. And he's actually communicated this to Robin Glover, and Robin was impressed that Mike was able to use this existing technology, wasn't he, Mike?
Well, I think the word he used was really neat. So yeah, no, I mean, to be true, but I think it's the sort of thing that, I mean, Robin has done such a brilliant job in putting this program together. It's quite easy to come up with, you know, tricks combining different facets of it. So this is really, it's combining the plate solving with the sequencer. You know, well, so obviously what you can do is you can repeatedly plate solve regularly every 15 frames or whatever you want to do. So it's just fantastic software, and it's so easy to use as well and very intuitive. So
yeah, the sequencer is awesome, isn't it? I've been doing a lot of work with the sequencer, and to set up, like, to do an image, you know, run a sequence that'll prompt you for the name, you know, go to plate solve, clear the stack, start the exposure, set the game.
Exactly.
It's a brilliant piece of software for that kind of thing.
It's great. I mean, I haven't got into, you know, Python scripting or anything like that yet. And you don't need to, using the basic template format that he has there, you know, so it's great.
It's great. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Mike, for sharing that. Let's just bounce over to Greg real quick, because Greg was sharing that he's figured out how to do the dithering without guiding. And I wondered, Greg, if you would say more about what settings you're using for that.
I'd like to see that.
I would love to give you more information, but I'm still waiting for that laptop to boot up. I'm on a different machine than the one I'm Zooming with at the moment. I keep my laptop out at the scope and then just remote into it from the house on a nice big 21-inch Mac. So I'm booting up and loading up SharpCap at the moment. I just followed some of the directions I think I saw in Robin's manual. And you basically treat it like you are guiding, but you obviously don't have the connection. I'm not using PhD2 or anything like that. And it's just, you tell it, I think, the amount of time in between dithering and then how long it takes before it resets it. So I'm trying to pull up the settings right now.
Like allowing 15 seconds for it to settle after the dithering?
Yes, the settling time. And I didn't really change much. I think I just kept some of the defaults. I'll get to in just a moment.
I told Frank I was really looking forward to trying this, and I keep forgetting every time to try this. So
I was surprised how well it worked. However, let me rephrase that. It's functioning properly. It's technically working, but I don't necessarily see a tremendous improvement in the image.
I see.
So is it worth it? I'm not so totally sure about that yet.
You know, I discovered that when I was experimenting with guiding too, and I did dithering with guiding, I never really could quantify a difference in the images. And so I quickly abandoned it, but I was curious to see the dithering without the PhD2.
Yeah, that was my thing too. I mean, granted, my typical image is 5 to 10 minutes. So, you know, I also wasn't seeing that much of improvement or any improvement. It's hard to tell at, you know, that short of it. You know, I think maybe if you're going up to an hour, you might start seeing it, but at 5 to 10 minutes that I do, I would not seeing anything.
I see.
I mean, my guess is as well, it's a function of the precision of the mount, that the more precise the mount is and is exactly staying on the same point, the more you will need dithering and thereby see the difference. But if you've got a funky old mount like I have that does its own dithering back, basically,
or an AVX,
I do not have the problem of it staying in the same position all the time.
So
So dithering is irrelevant.
Poor man's dithering, Mike.
Yeah, exactly.
Frank, does that answer your question a bit?
I think Greg is pretty much mimicking what I figured out. When I'm using the Green Swamp server ASCOM software for controlling the Skywatcher EQ6R, and I wasn't sure if there needed to be any checkboxes or anything enabled in Green Swamp server in order for it to receive the pulse commands that SharpCap was sending. At one point, I think I got something working where there was some kind of notification within SharpCap that the connection had been established, and you could see that it was dropping certain frames from the stack because during that dither process, it's not going to include those acquired images in the stack. So I think I got it working, but I don't see a huge improvement either in the overall stack that's being presented.
I don't have setting changes to address that because that's, again, same type of experience. I'll continue working with it and maybe what I need to do is an actual test where I run it with and without. Just A/B, same setting, same session.
That's a great idea.
Same condition.
The only reason I looked into it any further than because we're all only doing 5 to 10 minutes, but for one night I let it sit on the Horsehead Nebula for a very long time, probably about an hour, and the stack was quite good except for some what I would consider to be called walking noise that was present in a section of the image after it was done being stretched. And I was thinking to myself that perhaps dithering would have eliminated that walking noise.
So that
was me falling to sleep at the controls and letting SharpCap run rampant for over an hour.
That brings up a question I've always wondered about, and Frank, so did you, in an hour, did you see an increase in the quality of the image, or was it?
Without question,
really, because I've never gone more than about 10 minutes, and I've often wondered if I've let it sit, because my mount tracks pretty good. If I let it sit, will it sharpen up? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, for the Horsehead Nebula being a faint object, as faint an object as it is, it really was able to bring out detail that I know I wouldn't be able to get in a 10 or even 15-minute stack.
Somebody on Cloudy Nights did a post yesterday or the day before that about the Horsehead Nebula in particular. Like they did like a 1 minute or stack at 10 in like 1 hour. It was really actually quite amazing to see how much an hour brought out. I don't remember. You might have to. I don't remember what that was, but I remember seeing that just the last day or two.
I can share you the image that I took. Hold on 1 second. I'll quickly share my screen here.
Greg, while he does that, make sure you look up your settings. After Frank's done, we'll have you just run through your settings real quick.
That's very nice.
So the area I'm talking about is down here. I don't know if it comes through in Zoom, but there are diagonal striations throughout the image down here.
And you processed how long on that? Because that looks awesome.
That's about an hour. That's
but no post processing, right?
No, that's just
that's amazing. Wow.
76 frames, 763 frames.
Correct.
What scope?
You said that's just in SharpCap? That's
SharpCap with a Hyperstar mounted to the front of a C8 SCT.
Wow.
That's impressive. And how long are your subs?
What now?
Stand by.
How long are your subs? Did you say?
The subs
11,445. So I'm getting out my calculator.
Photograph.
What's that?
11,445 divided by.
Yeah, you do the math for me, Doug. I'm trying to bring up
63 subs. That's 15-second exposures.
There you go.
Okay. Good job.
Wow. Very, very nice.
Awesome. That's
So,
the A pod of the day.
What
I
mount?
just put in the chat the link to the post on Cloudy Nights for the guy who did it. Oh,
What mount are you driving, Frank?
That's a Skywatcher EQ6R Pro. I've got an 8-inch peer extension on it just to get it a little. I mean, I bought it used, and the gentleman that had it, offered me the peer extension, so it's a little bit elevated. I don't have it on a permanent mount. It's just on a tripod on my back deck when I use it.
Amazing.
Very nice.
Greg, why don't you share those dithering settings with us just so we'll know them?
There are a couple of places where you have to make some changes in the, if you go to File and the General tab, the File tab, very top, and then the guiding section of it, there's just simply a checkbox there for dither only, no guiding using ASCOM mount pulse setting. So initially I did not have that changed or set properly. And then when you're actually live stacking, over the guiding tab, you have a checkbox for automatically dither. And I left the default of every 2 minutes. So that's what you see, as Frank mentioned, you'd see some frames drop, after a couple of minutes, you see it would drop one. And I don't have my mount, I'm not actually connected at the moment. So I'm using the test camera. And so it doesn't really have that settle time feature that we talked about. So I don't know exactly what that one is, but there's also the checkbox, I believe, that says simply reduce exposure while dithering. And I just left those set. So really, I didn't really change my configuration other than the default presets.
I've seen people tell us 15 settings for a settling time, but maybe
I did change it then. I had much less than that. And
Okay.
it didn't seem to be a problem.
Okay.
I think I want to try and reduce it just to save some time.
Right.
But that's coming from somebody who lets the run 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes by choice, not because I fall asleep. I do find that I just see an improvement. For me, it's mostly knocking down noise. It just smooths the image out. I'm not as concerned about doing it as fast as I can. I mean, a slower F speed is great, but for me, I just want to see it the best I can. So if that means 15, 20, 30 minutes, I'm fine with that, as long as I'm getting more and more detail, richer colors, better saturation, and really it's about knocking that noise down as much as I can.
Got it. Greg, anything else you want to share while you're talking with us, Greg? Anything else you've been working on that you want to share?
Lately, I've taken a couple of 2-day camping astronomy trips, and I've run out of power after the first night. And so when I'm out in the field, I had some people that I met at the campsite and had a great time. First night, I'm using a little 12-volt DC battery, but after a full night, 6-7 hours or so, the next night I started to run out of power. So I'm looking into what I need to do to maybe have an additional setup where I can just go 12-volt straight down to 5 volts, as opposed to using an inverter to take up to 120 and then going back down to 19 for the laptop and 5 for the specific devices. I guess that's pretty inefficient. So I just have the one battery. I'm trying to figure out what I need to get to maybe to power just the 5-volt portions of it. So there's a lot of information out there. I'm just getting started on researching. I know there are a million ways to do it.
There are, and it also depends on how much you want to spend, doesn't it, Greg?
Well, yeah, I looked at getting some solar panels so I could recharge my little 12-volt deep cycle battery. Well, for $120, I can turn around and buy another battery.
Yeah.
So
I may have the device.
All right, what do you have?
This is an all powers solar generator. I don't actually use it for astronomy. I broadcast sports events because I work for Essex County Cricket Club. And I use this to power the live stream that I run on the laptop and whatever else, because it has to be completely off grid. Basically, what this is, it's a 12-volt DC LiPo battery with an inverter built in one kit. It can be charged by solar, charged by your car, charged by mains like a normal LiPo. It has, this particular model, because it's UK, has a 12-volt DC output and a 220-volt AC output. In the US, it'd be obviously 110. And it's 288 watt hours. Charges in about 5 hours, from mains electricity. And I do sports broadcasts that last up to 9 hours. That's live streaming with commentary, whatever else. And it powers cameras, the lot. And it's about £250 UK, so that'll be $250 US, of course, because it's always a pound for a dollar, isn't it? But a great bit of kit. made by a firm called All Powers.
All Powers.
Well worth a look. And
Thanks, I'll
it
check
is
that out.
extremely lightweight, as you can see how small it is for a 288 watt hour. So divide what is it, 12 volts by 288. It's a lot of amps.
Now, what about 110? What about 110, Phil?
Sorry?
What
The US version, there's two versions, UK version, there's a European option and a US version, but I've seen it on both Amazon UK and Amazon.com. So there must be a 110 volt US option with it.
But you're saying it recharges by 220 in your case, but what Greg
it would recharge. It recharges. You can. It's described as a solar battery. You can buy a complete solar kit to go with it, but it has just a standard. Well, we call them bricks over here.
But you understand,
AC/DC adapter.
you understand Greg needs to power a 110 volt laptop, so he needs 110 as well.
Yes, this has, if I can show you the outputs.
Oh.
Here, you've got a 12 volt DC. Here, these are UK plugs because they're the three-way,
yes,
3 pins. I've got 2 alternating current outputs.
So it is an inverter as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I used to use for broadcasting a 12 volt, 12 volt 18 amp tracer battery, which was about £240, I think. I then shoved an inverter into that to ramp it up to 240 volts, obviously UK, and then took it back down again to power what's effectively a 12 volt CCTV camera, high resolution version. But I've got 2 of these, and they're a great bit of kit. I don't actually use them for astronomy because I do everything at home using mains power. But it's well worth a look. But do check that your aggregate wattage, amperage. I mean, wattage is the most important thing, of course, isn't it? Do check that your total load will last over a long enough period. But it's a great bit of kit.
I'm leaning
by All Powers. Sorry?
Okay, thank you. I'm leaning towards using my existing deep cycle battery. It's lead acid, so it weighs a ton. It's got 35 amp hours. But when I'm powering the scope, the camera, the cooler, the dew heater, the laptop, and I also have a nice 27-inch monitor that I like to take out in the field for people to watch. What I might need to do is simply use that deep cycle battery for maybe the laptop and the monitor, and then find a different solution that's smaller, lighter weight. It's, a lithium battery. Maybe they can take me straight from 12 volts down to 5. Does anybody have an experience with that kind of thing where you have
this will output 5 as well?
Oh, it will.
Oh yeah. You've got options of there was a USB output, there's a 5 volt output, there's a 12 volt output, and depending whether you're UK or US, 110 AC or 240 volt AC. It's made by All Powers, but there's also a bigger version. There's a 630, I think it is, watt hour version. Serious money for it, but they're so lightweight.
Yeah.
And I say, I do professional sports broadcasting, and because I've got to carry my camera gear, you probably see behind me, there's some poles which I use to get the camera up at what they call a sight screen at cricket. You probably don't understand cricket, but they have a white square screen at the back. So when the bowler bowls, the batsman can see the red ball against a white background. These are about 4 meters high. So I've got to get power off grid to 4 meters up into the air to a camera, and then transmit it using I use some Ubiquiti peer-to-peer, point-to-point rather, transmitters to send it back to where I am, all off grid, and it works really well. Great little power supply. But
we're all going to come to one of your games someday, so that we can see you do this, Phil.
Please do. we had a season where everything was behind closed doors. So
Oh boy.
I had the best seat in the house, the only one that was watching it live. Everybody else had watched it. Well, it's professional cricket, so you know.
Phil, anything else you're working on while you're talking? Anything else you've been working
Yeah,
on?
well, I'm afraid that the outside we've got absolutely awful skies. But what I thought I'd try to do is talk people through one or two unusual things. I have reported some of these within Cloudy Nights, but one or two things I've done that are a little bit different from perhaps the norm. What I'm going to do, in fact, I've never done this before, so this might go completely wrong. I'm going to try and share my screen and see where that takes us to start with.
Because Phil, none of us ever do anything that's different. We're looking forward to hearing this.
Okay. Right. Can you see my regular desktop?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. We'll see how we go with this. Firstly, let me start by introducing you to where I am, which is my man cave. Is that going to appear? Come on. Why is that not appearing? Oh, here we go. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I am in there. There's my scope. Basically, I've built myself in the back of what is actually the most useless garage in the world. Single width, triple length. Now, who has 3 cars who parks them 1, 2, 3? I was stupid enough to buy a house with a triple length, but it was handy to actually put a little bit of an observatory in the back of it. And what I do is I put a scope completely assembled out to the lawn, which you can see I rather conveniently made it artificial grass to stop all the mud. Anybody who's familiar with the European conditions will know scope and rain and what have you means very muddy, wet lawns. You see that okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question on that, though, because there's this debate about concrete or turf.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, and the problem is the heat coefficient. Okay. And so where does AstroTurf fit on that in terms of absorbing and releasing heat?
Let me explain. Underneath here is what's called MOT type 1, which is almost like a crushed rubble, yeah, which makes it solid. The rain lands on here and goes straight through it. It drains just like normal grass.
Mm-hmm.
The most fantastic thing I found is one of the innovations I developed was when I was originally, I did this with polar alignment and with a wedge.
Mm-hmm.
I found that it was incredibly important with a Celestron and All-Star polar alignment to make sure your scope was truly north-south. Any variation, it does say rough align to the north or rough align to the south, depending on whether you're using CPWI or a HC. And I found the variance from north-south dictated how many wedge turns you needed to eliminate your polar alignment error. So what I did was I built this triangle, and you can see a little compass there. The compass ensures that it is absolutely aligned north-south. If I did need to nudge the scope a little bit to, get a little bit, I could just tap it with my foot and the whole thing moved, and it just like floats on the artificial grass. So one of the great things about it is it's the best anti-vibration system I've ever experienced. This little triangle that floats on grass. And I say, in terms of the way it drains, the way it performs, I found artificial grass to be absolutely probably the best thing I ever did. In fact, I'd go as far as saying is I would take, if I was regularly going away, because I do everything at home now, I would take a square meter of artificial grass away with me to dark sky sites. Seriously, it does. This triangle idea, it's probably the best thing I ever did. Another thing that I've pioneered, we all want to observe from indoors. I think a lot of us do it already through remote desktop or what have you. And like most people, I had all sorts of junk tied onto my OTA up here. I had Intel NUC, I had Focuser, I had all sorts of stuff. And what I eventually worked out was probably the best thing to do in my circumstances, especially because I was carrying the scope the few yards from my little observatory outside, and I would carry it a bit like a Scotsman would carry a caber, you know, the big trunk they throw, was to get an ABS plastic box, drill a hole through it, thread my leg spreader rod through the middle. And can you see here how I've got an Intel NUC, my Focuser and other bits and pieces screwed to that ABS box. All my surplus cables go inside the plastic box. And that means that I've only got this single, see the white cable going up here. And inside there, I've got a cable to camera, cable to Focuser, and that's about it, because my star sense goes straight in there. And providing that is about 2.5 meters long, not a problem with cord wrap or anything like that. And you can see here I use mains power into the thing. So a couple of innovations I've found really work well for me, having tried all sorts of other things, is get the equipment below the center of gravity. It's easy to carry. And this little triangular wooden wedge has worked well for me. If I show you,
can you put that picture back up and zoom in a little bit? I'm curious about.
Yeah, sure. Let me put that one back up. Can you still see it? And I'll zoom in.
Yes.
What was your question?
Yeah, zoom in a little bit. Oh, okay. Oh, there. Yeah, I want to see your box. Well, that's interesting.
Oh, the box, yes. Basically, it's actually, I'll be honest with you, it's two boxes. Can you see there's one there and one there?
Yes.
Ignore the USB hub. I've abandoned that. I've just found USB hubs a waste of time. Everything now goes straight into the Intel NUC. There is a piece of MDF, medium density fiber board, which I've put there, and it's two boxes, one screwed into the other. Then you've got the Focuser, which I'll show you a bit more about that in a moment, over here, and then the NUC over here. So all my cable lengths, as you can see here, you've got connection from here going round to the Focuser controller. All my cable lengths are extremely short, which means I've overcome all the nonsense we have with USB cables that are too long. And the primary cable is just simply this one that's in this white curly Focuser control, cable tidy that goes round here. I suspend it from the center of the scope and it goes to the back to Focuser and camera. If I put Hyperstar on the front, all I have to do is unplug the cable there, unplug the cable from the Focuser and swing it to the front, and it connects to Hyperstar over here, which I've got another picture I can show you of that. And here is, when it comes up you come. Exactly the same arrangement, except with Hyperstar, and you can see the cable's just been swung to the front. I had a black cable tidy here, but I've now moved it to white. But there it is with Hyperstar. But getting it below the center of gravity makes the whole thing so easy to carry. I carry this outside. The only thing I don't have pre-assembled is Hyperstar. I put that on later. In terms of things that I've done with it, I'm really sorry. Sorry?
So Phil, I just said, I was curious the route you've gone. I mean, it looks really great and the wedge is ingenious. What about, I mean, a lot of people build, what do they call it? A column, a pillar, mount, a solid thing, and then just put, so there's no tripod, they just put their...
My wife would not, she would allow me to put the artificial grass down, But to build a pillar or a observatory or anything else in the middle of her precious lawn, no way.
Okay.
That's
interesting, though. She did accept the AstroTurf, though.
Oh, yes, absolutely. But it was only because I managed to somewhat deliberately drag mud every evening. Well, every evening, to the lounge carpet.
Phil, I have a question.
Got it.
I have a question, Phil. What if you put a bird bath out there with a removable top, and when she went to bed, unscrew the top of the bath and then use that as your mount?
Hold on, Doug. I've got back to
with the bird bath on top. Yeah.
I've got to go back to an earlier picture here. Back in 2016, there was a conversation about I'm going to spend about £2,500 on a telescope. And she said, yes, if I can have a hot tub. That was been the trade-off. And I've since...
That's a win-win situation.
I've since spent silly money on all sorts of stuff. And there's always been a trade-off. Always been a trade-off.
All of us can understand.
But my history with EAA actually goes back to around 2015, 2016. I bought my Evolution, which was Generation 1 Wi-Fi, absolutely useless in terms of we suffer so much from internet clutter over here. First generation Wi-Fi was no good. I spent loads of money trying to remedy that. I tried second generation, I tried third generation. It just would not work in cluttered urban areas.
Sorry, Phil. Doug and I both have a vested interest in this. And so, are you referring to Raspberry Pi as third generation?
No. I'm talking about the bog standard Celestron Evolution Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Which the original, what I've got, this is the first generation Evolution scope. It has a range of about 3 meters. If you manage to do a turn holding your tablet or phone or what have you, because the human body is 60% water, it would break the signal. It was absolutely useless. I bought a second generation Sky Portal dongle. It didn't work. I bought a third generation. Tell a lie, I got a third generation dongle under warranty, and that didn't work. And what I now do is what I'll try and show you now, in fact, which I'm going to try and show you my work process. Can you see my main desktop?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, this is how I basically set up. Now, I am connected to my scope, and it is indoors. This may or may not work, but let's see how it goes. I click on Remote Desktop, and I click on Connect. And I'm now looking at my original screen over here and my Intel NUC outside. Is that the same view you're getting?
Yes.
I click on here to open up my MicroTouch controller and click Connect. And basically, what I've got here is I've got a Starlight Instruments microfocuser, which is seriously accurate, linked up to a MK20IT MicroTouch controller. And the great thing about this controller is it is not just very sensitive, it even offers temperature sensitive autofocus. So you can see, because my scope is indoors, I'm in a very cozy 83.1 degrees Fahrenheit in my little nest here, which is 28.4 centigrade. So having linked up with my focuser, I then open up CWPI, and I then just connect to my hand controller, and I'm now connected to my scope. Now, I won't do this because I'm indoors, but I would just click on Star Sense Alignment, Begin Alignment, and it would align. Just close that down. Then into Sharp Cap. And here we go. Now, all you're going to see, because I'm indoors with very bright lights, you're going to see a black screen, pure and simply because I'm totally, utterly overexposed. In fact, somewhere under here, if I bring the exposures right down and gain, you still won't see anything, so I'm totally overexposed. One of the things I wanted to show people was, because I've got all this connected through ASCOM, here you can see through Sharp Cap, I'm connected to CPWI, and I can control scope movement here, and I can also plate solve and sync. And I can also control my focuser here, all through Sharp Cap. So the only thing I need to do, the only time I need to leave Sharp Cap is if I want to use a go-to, which is over here through the local database. So,
I mean, I'm sure Robin would incorporate that in the next couple of years. You know?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he will. But the journey I've been on to get to a point where what you're seeing now is a completely remote controlled scope.
Yep.
Celestian Wi-Fi was awful. I spent a fortune on Netgear, Wi-Fi extenders. It just didn't work. And the big problem was in the UK, all my neighbours have their curtains, their fires, their you name it. Everything works by Alexa, turn on the TV. Alexa, do this. Google, do that. And it's so cluttered. Whereas if you're watching a live stream on TV, a few lost packets won't make a difference because your eyesight is, you're not seeing all the screens, the frames anyway. If you get a dropped packet on a scope, your scope's disconnected.
Yep.
What I did was I got a series of British Telecom, which is a UK telecoms provider, mesh discs. The first one connects to my router. My second one goes in my lounge. My third one goes in the conservatory. My fourth one goes in the top end of my garage. My fifth one goes in my observatory. And they as a relay, they send the signal through each other. And it was so convoluting as an approach I had to take, because I discovered my super eco-friendly house is unfriendly in the context of it's lined with plasterboard, lined with silver foil. And the problem with that is it's like a Faraday cage. So to route the internet signal from my router and all the way around to embrace my home, my observatory, and my scope outside, I had to link all these discs in, not strictly line of sight because they still go through walls, but through the points of least resistance. So that's my working practice. And I say I'd love to be able to just show you something in Sharp Cap and the like, but it's not going to work for me because of the clouds outside. But I will show you one or two images that I think will be of interest. The first one is not EAA, it's very strictly lucky imaging, but this is a fairly nice Jupiter I took a while ago with 3 of its moons. Planets are very, sorry?
Very nice.
Yeah, planets are very difficult from where I am. They all tend to be very, very low on the horizon, and you're struggling all the time to, the lower it is, the more pea soup you're going through. But I got lucky this night. But the image I really want to show you is this one. It's one you'll be familiar with, but I think this one shows something a bit different. You all see that, the Orion Nebula M42?
Yes.
Yep.
Now, this here you can see the fairly nice nebulosity. But I like to use this to demonstrate how visual astronomy and EAA both differ and are in parallels. Some of you will know that, well, all of you know that one of the greatest challenges in visual astronomy is to split the trapezium. And can you see here, I've captured the nebulosity, and yet here, look, can you see I've split the trapezium?
Yes.
And the secret to this is up here. This was 153 frames, total integration time 306 seconds. These are 2-second exposures on Hyperstar, which obviously is capturing photons at such a rate. And by taking the exposure rate really down, it meant that I didn't suffer from, you know, this area is normally overexposed, over bloated, and whatever else. So by taking the exposures right down to 2 seconds, I mean, I can get an image of even the horse head probably takes me 3 frames at 2 seconds each with Hyperstar. But one of the nice things I think this demonstrates as well, what I'm looking at, although you might not be looking at, I'm looking at a 32-inch 4K UHD ultra high definition screen. And this was probably only about that size on the original screen. I then zoomed in and I captured as on screen. And now if I do this, look how far, I don't know whether this is working on your screens if they're 108 OP.
Good.
How far I can go in without it going blocky, you know, pixelation.
Yes.
And I think that's a pretty good demonstration what you can do with a 4K, or both my cameras are an Attica Horizon and the AS 294. Both of them are over 4K. What you can do with a end-to-end 4K system.
Yes. That's great,
So
Phil.
I'm sorry I can't show you outside stuff, but
No, thank you.
The things I've done.
Thank you for sharing your journey. It's really, really meaningful.
It's very interesting. It's something that Doug and I have been working on, chatting about as well, the whole remote thing. And it's interesting to see parallel but different strategies that you've employed there. Very interesting.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, all I would say about remoting, I'll give credit to Roll here because he gave, I followed a lot of his posts early on. It is a very tortuous journey. Most people start by remote controlling scope, and they get that working, and they go, "Oh hell, how do I get the camera?" And they realise the camera requires a different strategy. You know, if you've gone for celestial Wi-Fi, for example, you've then got to do something different for your camera. Or others will go down a route like ASI Air or the Attic equivalent. Well, I'd have been snookered because I've got ASI and I've also got Attic cameras. So you really need to plan the whole thing holistically.
Yes.
And the one thing I would recommend, in addition to planning holistically, is do not underestimate the computing and computing power and RAM required. If you think about it, with a camera like the Attic Horizon, I forget what the resolution is, but you're well in excess of 4K. If you put it on Hyperstar and you're using 2 to 4 second exposures, so you're capturing a frame every 2 to 4 seconds, you're capturing an absolutely massive amount of data. If you're then live stacking it at the PC at the scope, it's a hell of a load and certainly an awful lot of storage.
Yeah.
What happens indoor doesn't matter so much because you're only transferring screen data. But there's things that go wrong there. Somebody mentioned early on about having a 7-inch miniature field monitor. And I thought it'd be clever. I thought I'd put a 7-inch, instead of it running headless at the scope, I'd put a 7-inch mini monitor at 720p. And the problem is, because that was then dictating 720p, it meant I only got 720p indoors. So I had to have a 4K graphics card effectively on my Intel NUC outdoors and a 4K graphics card indoors. And it's a long, painful journey I've been, a very expensive journey. But if anybody wants to know anything about how to avoid the pain, I'm your man.
Phil, thanks for sharing. And you gave credit to Rol. Why don't we go over to Rol and ask, Rol, did you have anything to share tonight that you've been working on? You have to unmute this.
Yes, yes, I have something here, a picture, but I'm looking at the, a moment, please.
I'd love to share a lovely bottle of Malbec, but I'm afraid it's just gone.
Not any better than my Ribera de Duelo 9 euros, 20 seconds in the supermarket for 9 euros. I discovered why Spanish wine is so cheap. There is 0 tax on wine in Spain.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It's amazing. And do you know what? I can buy Glenfiddich cheaper here than I can in England because of taxes as well. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Rol, do you need help with sharing your screen?
Yes. You see it?
No, not yet. Down at the bottom, there should be a button that says share screen, and then just choose, like, for instance, the whole screen, and we should be able to see whatever you're seeing. Yep, there you go.
Yes, I came along this with my last observing system here with Bartle 7, not very great, with the AZ 290. This is the integral sine galaxy.
Wow.
I find it interesting. UGC 3697. Can you see it?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It's
find
beautiful.
it an interesting galaxy. That's all I have to share this evening, except, yes?
Remind us which scope this is. Oh.
It was with SE6, 6-inch.
I thought so. I thought you were using a C6. That's really a good capture with a 6-inch scope.
Yeah, but you see here, that's the light pollution.
Pollution.
Here, yeah.
And you're not using any light pollution filter, if I remember right.
No
That's
filters
amazing.
at all. No dithering, no nothing.
And
no
was
dark.
this out at your country house, or was this right there within Antwerp?
It was in Antwerp.
Oh my goodness, that's great.
Yes. Bartle 7.
That's amazing.
I want
Now
to
you have-
also let you see the M42 with the blocky stars.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're beautiful though.
Yeah, very similar to my role. That's what, 40 times 3 seconds, and is that f6.3?
40 times 3 seconds. Yes.
Yeah. What focal reduction? f6.3.
0.5.
0.5.
Yes. That was with an 8-inch.
8-inch.
8-inch. Yeah. Yeah.
At the country house.
You've reinforced what I said, that really bring the exposure levels down. I mean, mine was two seconds, yours 3 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's too much emphasis on exposure length rather than total integration time.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's what the whole HDR strategy does, though. It incorporates both of those together. And I've seen some pretty impressive images where, you know, that combine that long and short.
Yeah.
And that's the last one I want to show. That was the NGC 896. where some earlier was talking about it. Also with the 533.
It's beautiful.
So that was what I want to show this evening.
And that's 20, 30-second images.
Yes.
Well, you accomplish a lot. Thank you so much. And thank you for all those times that you do the observing challenge list for us.
Okay,
Yeah,
no problem.
cool stuff with that.
Yes.
Okay, are you done sharing? Shall I stop your sharing?
Yes, okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Credit to him for holding back the clouds.
Yeah.
I'm holding back the clouds for Roll because
I've got another live stack I can show you guys real quick if you want to. I did the Rosette Nebula for the first time.
Okay.
Just barge in here.
They're
It's not the
rolling.
best, but with problems with everything else, you know, flats and all that. There we are.
That's awesome.
That's 14 minutes, 224 second frames, 400 gain. And that's this whole sequencer thing running with the rotator in the background. Not the best, but not too bad, you know, on the fly.
What is your focal ratio again, Mike?
4.5.
4.5, good.
Is that the Rosetta?
That's the Rosetta, yeah. I hadn't done it before because I thought it'd be too big for my field of view, but it looks like I'm pretty much capturing it perfectly, actually.
Yes.
You know? So don't believe astronomy tools. They lied.
Absolutely.
No,
Huh?
the girl does not know what she wants to do.
Damn, you just missed. He just posted a live view of Rosetta Nebula.
James, what about you? What would you have to share? What have you been working on over there?
I'm right at the beginning of my journey at the moment. I'm purely visual at the moment, and I really came across this group, came across some of Phil's postings and the journey he's been on, just to help to start planning, really. So I'm at the beginning of my EA journey.
Well, we're glad to have you, brother. And you are located, you said, say the name of the town again so that we who are not from the UK can process.
I'm just south of Reading. So that's
Reading.
just west of London. I think, Phil, you're east of London, aren't you? And
well, north really, Colchester.
Yeah. So
Colchester. I grew up in Southend.
If you draw a line from Colchester through London, then I'm about the same the other side.
Okay.
Yeah, but in US distances, it's about a third of a state.
Yeah.
Well, James, we're happy to have you. Do you have any other questions, James?
No, just following everything's going along. Thank you.
All right. We're glad. Now,
James, did you come in
over there?
The Stargazers Lounge, or was it in Cloudy Nights?
Sorry?
Did I meet you in the Stargazers Lounge? Or
I initially met you in Stargazers Lounge, but I've been looking through both. I've been looking through both. Yeah.
Oh, well, welcome to Cloudy Nights, because it's more global, you know, and we're the best.
So glad to have you, James. Now, I noticed that Gary Shaw has logged on. Gary, it's good to have you.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. Do you have any anything you've been working on, or any questions?
Are you asking me, Gary?
Yes. I just wondered if you had any questions or anything you've been working on, Gary.
Well, I've been struggling all afternoon with the 294 MM Pro that I just picked up, trying to create flats and do a linearity test. So that's where my head is right now. So this is fun and relaxing, just to see some images and see some faces of people who've helped me and who've helped all of us really along the way, especially Phil. I wanted to thank him for all the help he gave me learning how to observe remotely. It's made a big change in my life. So that's kind of where I am.
Oh, it's so good to actually talk to you and meet you.
Gary, you're out in was it Montana? I forget.
Amazing.
Wyoming, but I'm here in Boston right now.
Oh, that's right. You have two lives. I remember. Well, it's good to have you. Good to have you, Gary. Thanks so much. I wonder if we could go over to you, and see if you had one other thing I think you wanted to share.
Yeah, well, I think I just did a post on this and just figured I'd show people. because of all my cloudy nights, I've been building up my travel scope. So let's see if I could get a good image here of the travel scope. So here's the on the Skywatcher AZGTI, and then I've got both see if I can get here. It's always so much harder this way. Yeah, I've got a small mini PC and a small little battery pack that's been powering it. So hoping to do lots of traveling this coming year, which I was hoping to bring this on. So we'll see how well it works. I definitely want a clear night first before I go traveling, that I can hopefully give that a shot. And got that all working under Sky Safari and SharkCap, that all working. So it's been a pretty fun project to get going. Tried ASI Air Plus, didn't like that. Just didn't like the UI. Just didn't like it. So. And then I realized I can get a mini PC for the same price. So for that, it was like, okay, that was a no-brainer decision.
Good.
So yeah, just wanted to share that.
What is the focal length and the diameter of that objective?
It's a 50 millimeter, 242. So f6 or somewhere around there, I think it is.
So that whole thing is probably only 20 pounds.
I forgot. I weighed it all. I did it on the post. I forget what I said. It's less than 20 pounds.
Yeah. That's fun.
It's so we'll see. Yeah, like I said, I want to see. Yeah, the whole thing's 11.5 pounds.
Oh my goodness!
So with the tripod and everything, it's 11.5 pounds. Easily fits in a backpack. So be easy to do as a carry-on. Yeah. I've used the scope before itself on top of my 8-inch. So I know, it does all right. So it's not going to bring in lots of great details, but for our travel scope, I think it will work out great.
What's the name of those portable 80 millimeters that are in a kit that are all automated? I forget, the all in one box. What are they called?
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. I forgot the names too.
What is it?
Stellina or the
Stellina.
You basically made your own Stellina, say.
Yeah, basically, yeah. A little bigger, a little bit messier, but much more sophisticated.
Yeah.
Much more affordable too.
Yeah, and the other thing is too is right now I've got I can bring both the 178 and 294 camera for it too.
Yeah.
For very little difference, it's like, okay, swap the cameras and you get a much different field of view.
Okay. Say thanks for sharing that. And Brian, we haven't heard anything from you yet. Have we? Tell us one more time what you've been working on.
Well, so I've been taking notes throughout the meeting here, and I wanted to make a quick comment on remoting. So I set up in my driveway. I'm out in the country and I have a really dark site, and I pre-drilled holes in my driveway. So I set my tripod down and I've got a good polar alignment. So I had a young friend over the other night, and we did the first come inside, do it all remote session. And about halfway into it, I managed to run the tube into the tripod. So yeah, I got to work on the limits a little bit. So that was a little disconcerting. I was fortunate I didn't damage anything because I had the clutches pretty lightly engaged. So, but I couldn't figure out why it wasn't tracking properly after it did that. But so other than now getting my limits all set up correctly so I don't do that again, I'm hoping to be completely remote inside next session we do. So
that's awesome.
I've also been following Tiago a lot, and I've been working on sequences to get things a little more automated. So that's been a fun experience. And I talked about it earlier, working on coming up with a platform for my Dobsonian so I can do some imaging with it, because it'll be nice. And then tomorrow night here, probably same for you, Doug, is going to be super good transparency and seeing. So, and no moon. So I think I'm gonna do some visual stuff tomorrow night, but I've got a brand new L Pro filter that I want to try to use a little bit. Haven't imaged with it yet, but I'm curious to see if it enhances anything or not. So
which talk about the L Pro, what camera are you using with it?
294.
Okay, I have the exact same setup. One thing to be aware of, it tends, if you're using SharkCap, you'll tend to find it, your images get a little bit on the red side. So you may need to just shift the red channel down a little left. But I've really liked it.
Good. I'm gonna give it.
It keeps the colors of the stars balances well with the color of the stars.
Awesome.
Cool. So that's really about it. Looking forward to a nice visual night tomorrow night. But then once we comes back to the clouds again, then when it clears up again, I'm gonna break out the L Pro and my 120 millimeter refractor and do some imaging. So
That's awesome, Brian. I think here they're calling for clear skies around midnight forward, but now Tuesday night, it's supposed to be clear all night long.
yeah, Monday night's looking real good here.
Okay,
So
good.
really looking forward to it. Although
All right,
very low 20s, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna shoot for Tuesday night here. I'm looking forward to that as well. Well, Ken, we haven't heard anything from you. Is there anything you'd like to share, Ken, or any questions or anything you've been working on?
I've been working on a lot. I got my setup. I got a new cam. I don't know if I was on when I got my 294 MC Pro, but I upgraded for my 385. And then I had a real good friend of mine, actually my mentor, Dale Pincala. He has an observatory, and as a business, he was a machinist. He machined me a plate so I could mount my telescope on some cinder blocks I have set up. So now I have set up outside. All I have to do is take the tube out, no polar lining or monkey business like that. That was always my big thing. But everything's automated from in the house, and up here in mid-Michigan, it's a little chilly right now.
No doubt.
As you saw when I first got on, I was in the back seat of the car. We were coming home from the Upper Peninsula. Guy sitting next to me is my son-in-law, and his band played up at a place in Curtis, Michigan, called the Shipwreck. They played for New Year's Eve, and they're a heck of a good band.
Good.
I have never shared screens on here. If you can walk me through it, I can show you
Sure.
what I've been working on the latest thing.
Just hover your mouse over the bottom stripe of the window, and you'll see the green share screen button. And then you just pick the thing you want to share. You can just say your whole screen, and then we should see whatever you're seeing. There you go. Success.
Hey.
You see your camping tent.
Looks like a good night there.
You might want to unmute yourself, Ken, while you do your share.
Doug, I just noticed you need to play us some intro and exit music on your keyboard for these sessions.
I know. We got to do that.
You just click on whatever you want to show them.
Well, I don't want to return to the meeting. I'll share screen.
Yeah.
You're good now. All you have to do is show us what you want, and we're seeing whatever's on your desktop.
We see your screen now.
Yeah.
Okay, so do I have to pull up what I want to show you before or now?
No, you can just pull it up now.
Whatever you do on your screen, we see, yeah.
Just pretend you're the only person looking at it.
That's right. We'll look over your shoulder.
Okay.
Look how organized he is, guys.
No, I'm not.
Look at that. Oh.
My buddy keeps bitching at me because I'm not organized.
That's organized.
That's organized.
Seven Sisters. Is it the name of his band?
But it's not organized, it's OCD.
This is one of the, I took some frames of Seven Sisters. Now my setup is similar to Mike Jury's. I've got a 6-inch f4 Newtonian with the 294. I had to, let me see if I can get to the other one, and I'll
It's amazing what you can do, because we're like, this house is located maybe 5 miles from a chemical plant, so there's a lot of light pollution.
Yeah. There, that one's.
Oh, that's nice.
You can at least see the, the spikes in the stars.
Yeah.
But I've been playing with that. The biggest problem I have is the circles that are around the stars. If you can see them.
The halos.
Yeah, the halos.
Part of that is real. You want that.
Oh, if I could show you some of Dale's pictures, trust me, he's a freak when it comes to stars. And he's both him and another friend have tried to culminate the scope, and it just won't quite get there. It does it good, but at f4 with this camera, it's crazy.
I mean, are you sure that's a collimation issue, or is it a filter reflection issue?
A filter
Give you the same
reflection?
effect? Yeah.
He didn't
It's
mention
very
if he was
common
u-
to see. It's very common to see that.
It is.
It's back reflection from the filter back to the sensor will give you a halo.
Yeah.
Because I'm running,
Are you using
I'm
any
running
kind of a filter, Ken?
I'm running a Mark III coma corrector, a Bader, and I'm running a light pollution filter.
Right, because it can be back reflection off the light the LP filter back to the sensor will give you a halo.
People complain about it, but I think it's beautiful. Ken, don't worry about it. It's beautiful.
Well,
we're talking about it's beautiful, but we're just talking about the technicalities.
Yes.
Right.
Well, let me show you another one too that kind of confused me. I thought I goofed up something. And maybe that's it because see, I don't know what I'm doing.
And the variable there is a distance from the sensor to the filter. You want to reduce the distance between the filter and the sensor as much as possible. And the other variable obviously is the manufacturer of the filter. The ones, the NDS ones, non-reflective internal side will really avoid that halo effect.
Well, what I'm doing right now, I don't have a filter wheel or even a drawer. I'm screwing it right up next to the sensor.
That's good.
That's as close as you can get.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'll do mine.
Exactly.
Good.
Oh, there it is. Maybe.
But those of us who use Hyperstar actually try to replicate that. We maneuver the cables horizontally to get that sort of starburst effect. So
exactly.
This is where EAA merges with astrophotography.
A little bit.
Because, once we start getting paranoid about where the spikes on a star are or something like that, we're into astrophotography. I can't be doing with that. I just want to see what I can see,
Exactly. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is what I'm talking about.
Yes. But that's
the colored
star.
And it is a very bright star.
So I mean, Ken, if you were to eliminate the filter, obviously, having to deal with the light pollution is one thing, but eliminating the filter to see if that halo disappears, if you were to, set your dark, your black point and your mid-tones properly so that you potentially only see the spikes, which are as a result of being on a Newtonian, you're never going to get rid of the spikes, but perhaps the filter only to see if the filter is the root cause for the halo. That's really your only option, is to see if they disappear by removing the filter and seeing if you get the same results. If you do, then you've eliminated the filter being the root cause, and you have to look elsewhere. But one thing at a time, and see if the filter is the cause for these halos.
I would suggest something more simple, and that is just rein back on the exposure length a bit. The spikes you're going to get, I mentioned a moment ago that you get that effect with your cables going to Hyperstar, because obviously your camera's at the front and the like. But I've found consistently, particularly if I'm imaging f2 or any fairly extreme f ratio, is that drop the exposure length and all sorts of drop the exposure length and increase the integration time, and all sorts of weird aberrations just go away.
But he's already at 3 seconds, Phil.
Is that just 3 seconds?
Yeah.
351 frames at 3 seconds.
Yeah.
But
I think don't worry about it.
I still pull it back. If you pull it back a second, that's a 33% reduction, isn't it?
Okay, there you go. 2 seconds then.
Okay.
On a bright target.
Nice image, though.
I will try it. I even got, and I thought it was kind of bad, I got the Crab Nebula. I've had one good night in the last about 6 to 8 weeks. As soon as I set it up outside, it was lousy weather for at least 2 weeks. And then that one good night, and it hasn't been since. But I tried to get the Crab Nebula and got it. Not good, so I didn't save it, but I saw it. It was small, so I was happy.
Remind us what scope you're using. Is it I forget what you said, a 6 inch?
It's an Astrotech 6-inch f4.
6-inch, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Ken. Well, we are thankful for you showing us this. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right.
Just I've been gone a few months from this just because of everything in the holidays, and I'm glad to be back.
We're glad to have you back. Guys, I did want to share one other thing. I wanted to ask about our Messier Marathon. If you are interested in taking part in that, we're looking at March 5th and 6th, the evening of the 5th and the morning of the 6th. And the way it would work is whatever your nightfall is, whenever your night begins, we would start the broadcast with you. Whenever your night begins, we'd start the broadcast with you. And we will run the broadcast for 12 hours and then take like a maybe a 1 hour or a 2 hour nap break kind of thing. Zoom puts a limit on us for 12 hours. We found out last year. Imagine that, only allowing us to live stream for 12 hours straight. What are they thinking? And then we'd restart after an hour or two nap break. Again, keeping up with whatever other parts of the world that can come in, like the West Coast. So this would be Australia, Europe, East Coast, West Coast. What I was thinking this time is, why don't we just use Dropbox? Because a lot of us are familiar with Dropbox, a lot more than that special program we used last year. I think everybody had a learning curve on that. Why don't we just use Dropbox? And how about in Dropbox, what if I create in advance the subfolders for each of the 110 targets? And it doesn't matter where you are in the world or what time you log on. You just log on and pick a target. And then when you're done, within, say, if you could, within no more than 24 hours after the end, if you can upload your images into the Dropbox subfolder for each of those targets, that would be great. So in other words, there'll be a subfolder for M45. And let's say you got a really good image for M45. You can just log onto this Dropbox. We'll give you the log on credentials in advance. And the world won't have those. Only you'll have those if you're participating. You just upload your image into M45. And then we'll need a really good organized person to sort of follow the Dropbox. And I'll help with that. But I think we need a couple of helpers to look under those folders. And then we'll also make a Google Sheet. And again, we're trying to make this really simple this year. I think last year's approach caused people to have a big learning curve. We'll just make a Google Sheet. And once you've uploaded at least one image into that subfolder, you'll just be able to put a checkbox. And that way we'll know that at least one image is there. And the goal is to get one image for everything, but then we can keep uploading what we feel like might be really good stellar images for the others. And this year, with having Australia in the picture, we should be able to improve on our southern targets a little bit. And you remember how hard it was last year to pick up some of those targets that were in the horizon. So we need a couple of us to try to focus on trying to find really good eastern horizons if we can. Somebody that has a great eastern horizon would really help us. Maybe even a little bit southeast horizon. That would be a very good specialist for us. Are there any questions about how this would work or about how you would take part?
I think, Doug, that's a good plan, but it was a hell of a lot of fun last year, pure and simply because of the chaos. Yeah. And I mean, if you remember, I mean, okay, I can only speak of the London time zone. Yeah. But I started with you early.
Yes.
And then came back early morning.
Right.
You were still, but I think you were still tucked up in bed, grabbing your 2 hours or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then we had, and then we were panicking to get the last 4, I think.
Exactly.
Primarily because the lack of Southern Hemisphere participants.
Right. Do you remember I had to go out and I had to hang a weight on a tree limb to get it out of the way to image that last item. So you're exactly right, Phil.
Yeah. I can't remember which one it was, but the very last item.
Yeah.
I mean, the birds were singing, and the sun was coming up, and I could smell breakfast at your place.
Doug, I think you've got a good plan in mind with. I just was questioning whether or not you mentioned Dropbox for the actual file repository for putting the images, and then using Google Sheets for tracking, a spreadsheet, if you will, of the various targets and putting initials or whatever, marking it as done. Why not use Google Drive so that it's all in one common platform?
Oh, that's a good idea. I don't use Google Drive. That's a good idea. I just don't use it. Do you use it, Frank?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I have my Gmail account that obviously comes with a 15 gigabyte free file repository for Google Drive. We can always create a generic one for Cloudy Nut, make it generic so that it comes with a fresh new Google Drive that's doesn't have any content in it whatsoever.
I'm glad you mentioned it. I actually pay for a Google site, and I know I've seen up there that they give 30 gig for the subscription that I have, but I've never even used Google Drive before. So I'm glad you're pointing this out.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And obviously with that also, you mentioned creating folders for each of the Messier targets. We would still need a good list in order of when those objects are rising and setting, as opposed to just a M1 through 1, we would need them in the order that they need to be acquired. And
yes.
So, yep.
I think the critical thing really is that, I mean, I've participated in a number of these groups now. I mean, tonight we've got obviously a far more European orientated group. But when we did the Australia group, I think there were 2 of us from the UK.
Yes.
And we have almost a hard core and another core that floats depending on where the location is.
That's right.
The Messier Marathon, it was, should we say, better supported. There were a lot more of us because we were scattered, but at different times.
Yes.
We didn't have the Australia, New Zealand group. And I just feel as providing we give adequate notice. I mean, I deliberately bumped this meeting up the Cloudy Nights hierarchy because it had dropped off the radar almost.
Yes.
So many postings going through and so on.
Yes.
It's a case of just stirring up that critical mass, because that myself and probably James and others will be on early and we'll get up in the morning and rejoin you.
Yes, good.
You'll be in the middle suffering the worst because the US is going to be just the way it works, isn't it?
Yes.
You're going to get, sunset in, I don't know, Belgium,
right?
Sunrise in Japan, and you're going to be stuck in the middle, and you're going to get the least sleep. So we'll all vote for that.
Wow, I can't wait. Are there any other questions that you guys have?
Yes, the moon is at 56% that evening. Is that a problem? The waning gibbous moon.
On March 5th.
Yeah, we need to do a new moon. New moon is.
I mean, that is the weekend that they recommend for Messier Marathon. Why are they recommending that if the moon is at?
Who recommended that?
The Messier Marathon people.
I didn't know there was such a group. I thought it was.
Yes,
New moon is March 2nd. New moon is March.
Mike, you haven't been excluded all this time.
I think it's March 2nd. Oh, is the new moon.
Let's have a look.
March 5th, waning gibbous at 56.
March 2nd's good.
March 2nd, March 2nd is the new moon. So this is the closest weekend to the new moon.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. No problem.
Okay. So again,
I'll post a link in the chat. This is from the Messier organization, and I think this will outline it's by year, and you'll see what they're recommended. It shows you when the new moon, the phase of the new moon is, and when the primary weekend or the alternate weekend, if you're looking to, if you have cloudy nights.
We could do it in April if you'd rather. The April 2nd and 3rd. Is that a better weekend?
Well, I mean, there's nothing saying that we can't try it in March, and if the weather doesn't permit, then
Let's do that.
Otherwise, you scrap March altogether. Who knows what April will have in store for us?
Let's do that exactly.
Yeah, I'd go with Frank, because consistently March is the one month when I, in the UK, generally get clear skies.
Okay.
Almost all the imaging I ever do primarily is in March. Any other time of the year, it's difficult.
I find it interesting that they have such almost a full month in between the two dates, whereas in most years it's only separated by a week or 10 days at most.
I know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It is. It must have something to do. I'll just show you guys briefly the thing we have to live up to. This is their Hall of Fame. This is the what they call the Messier Marathon Hall of Fame, Eternal Hall of Fame. Sorry, the Eternal Hall of Fame. And here we are from March 20th through 21st, 2021, Cloudy Nights Electronically Assisted Astronomy EAA team. And there we are. We have a lot to live up to. We've got to make this work. We cannot afford to blow this.
We can try.
Hey, we're unique. We're the only COVID safe group.
I know. We're the only group, period, in all of 2021, and there was nobody in 2020. So
Yep.
It was collective, to be fair, and they didn't realize that we were all in different places.
Yeah. So there is that link if you want to go there afterward. Well, I know we're at our end of our meeting. Are there any other questions that we need to address today?
I have a question to Phil.
Yes.
The mesh, is that comparable to a power line adapter?
Sorry, say again.
The mesh you told about.
Oh,
Is that
yes.
comparable to
I tell you what, I bought a show house, and the one thing I would recommend is never buy a show house. The reason being, it's always the last one that's sold. And if anything's ever missing, like a ball cock in your toilet or your door handle or what have you, it's because they've stolen it from the show house to go to the house previously sold. And the one thing I learned,
Well, I will put in the chat panel a review from PC Magazine in which they compare a Wi-Fi range extender to a Wi-Fi mesh network, and that'll explain.
Yeah,
it's not a power line adapter. It's not a power line adapter.
No, it's not.
The problem with power line,
okay.
the problem with power line, it only works if everything everywhere in the household is on the same circuit.
The
house I bought has a ring main on the ground floor, a ring main on the second floor, a ring main on the third floor, and a different one in my garage and observatory.
So
it just didn't work. I then went to Netgear extenders, and the problem with Netgear, it was maybe unique with my house, was I had plasterboard linings to all my rooms, lined with metal foil for super insulation, and it was just like a Faraday cage.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Any other questions today? Any other questions? All right, well, let's wrap it up, guys. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks to Europe. You came through in a big way this time, Europe. Well done. All right.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
We'll get the date out for next month's meeting.
See you in March.
We'll get the date out for the next month's meeting for February, and then we're just 2 months away from the first time of trying the marathon. We'll see you in February.
Take care.
Thanks,
Take care,
everybody.
everyone.
Happy New Year.
God bless. Good night. Happy